Yeah, that's true. If he actually
You
picked up
only
broad
had to
appeal,
listen.
they would have done something. Well, well, that's the whole thing. You only had to listen. But with that whole, you know, like the Doom Paul meme, you only had to listen. You didn't listen. It's too late. What's actually missing from that is what's stopping you from listening. What makes it impossible to listen? Because we're seeing it happen right now. What's the problem? People want to communicate. How come they have trouble communicating? I am currently ghost banned. I've been kicked off platforms. This thing keeps getting shut down. And I have to say this about the ants. You know, they say that they're non-political. They just want to ruin everything. Anything that's not explicitly a right-wing thing is ultimately in service to the left. We just want to ruin. We just want to laugh. We just want to mock people. Okay, then you're an unwitting tool of the people who run this fucking world. This crapsack world that's made you so cynical and burnt out, and such a hollow human being that you indulge in this sort of behavior. You're serving them. You're propagating their purpose. A miserable peasant gaining some serotonin induction from doing the bidding of the people who made you so miserable in the first place. Now, I think Gordo is a prime example of this. Here's somebody who obviously had the ability to do greater things, but here he is being a miserable sack of shit, trying to make other people miserable. And who's he ultimately in service of? The people who made him so miserable and sad in the first place. A twisted addict.
Well, all I'm saying is he ain't going after Chapo Trap House.
No, and that's also the whole thing about this sort of like nihilism crew. They go after people who they see vulnerable because they know they can't, you know, they have this ethos that nobody should be anything on the internet. Like I've actually read their manifesto. It's pathetic. It really is some like edgy 14-year-old like goth teenager bullshit. But this idea that no, there should be a leveling on the internet. Everyone should just be an anonymous voice, you know, just white noise like everything else. There should be no emergent. But they never attack. They never attack the AstroTurfed media creations, and they never attack the people who get big, because they know that like this little group of people, 20 miserable little nihilists, they could rail against, say, PewDiePie all day, and no one would notice. Or they could go after Keemstar.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they've given up on even Ralph. They've given up on Ralph. They can't do anything against him. So what do they seek? They seek people who are even less popular than that, because they can fuck with them. So their whole thing, like, oh, but like, here's the thing, right? Here's their grand philosophy. We want nobody to be above anyone else on the internet, which is, you know, a completely unrealistic proposition to begin with. But we don't start. We don't start with the biggest. We start with the smallest. So what you're effectively doing, you're effectively creating a jungle canopy. So the way a canopy works in the jungle is that the big trees, they break through the canopy and they get into the sunshine and they're able to grow and become strong and big. And but the canopy, the growth of ivy and other lesser things, create this shadow on the ground. So it's incredibly difficult for anything else to grow from the soil.
It creates a natural deadfall.
Yeah, a deadfall. That's the one of those.
Rand,
Yeah, I mean,
you
live with eucalyptus trees. You should probably know about
so
that.
rather than bring an end to internet celebrity, you know, such as their stated cause, all they do is cement the established in place.
Well, Rand,
they're also just hitting the guy in the pillory.
Yeah, but by the way, this is how they serve the left. Because if the left wants to create a new personality, it doesn't bloom, it doesn't flower naturally. No, it's as artificial as a street post. If they want to create a new thing, they just go in there and build it. All this nihilistic approach to stuff is just make sure that no one can oppose the extant power structure. Oh, you're really confronting the establishment by doing exactly what it wants. Well done.
And by believing in equality.
Yeah. Belief in equality is what's allowed the neoliberal agenda to establish the greatest inequalities that has ever been seen in mankind's history.
Yeah. They want everything to be equally shit. So basically, they're communists.
Exactly. All right, well, I'll be back in a minute. You know what I gotta do. So anyway, I'll be back.
You've got to